You will obviously pour with sweat, but you're not gonna danger yourself. I haven't had anybody pass out yet. Bear in mind, I've only been to 2 sessions, and I'll tell you, we did have a minor medical emergency. Got about 45 minutes through the session, the smell came back. I don't know what to do about this. You know, I've never had a massage at the end of a yoga session, so it was a bit weird. She didn't massage everybody though, she doesn't have time for that, but my first session, she chose me. I was the chosen one. I struggle with the idea of smelling, because you know when you can smell someone's breath and you're like, oh god, hope my breath doesn't smell like that, and then you realise that maybe it does, and you're like, oh, okay. Oh my god, I've just gotten back from my second hot yoga session, and the reason why I've done so many in one go is maybe because I like it, but mainly because Hot Pod Yoga, the people who I did it with, have some kind of offer on at the moment, and it's like a really fucking good offer. So it's basically 10 days, it's only for new customers. This is not like a fucking plug or anything, it's pertinent to the story, isn't it? So basically there's this offer, and it's 10 days unlimited, so you could do all the classes every day if you want. I thoroughly don't recommend that, and we'll get into that soon as to why you shouldn't be doing 5 classes a day, unless you're an instructor, of course, maybe. And even then I would be kind of questioning, like, how are you doing 5 classes a day? But anyway, as many classes as you want in 10 days for £20. Considering one session was like 16, I was like, obviously I'll sign up. And then, so I want to explain to you my experience with hot yoga, and specifically Hot Pod Yoga, because it's a franchise or a chain within the UK, but doesn't necessarily have to be specific about Hot Pod Yoga. But that is the one I went to and I'm currently going to for the next 10 days. So I originally thought it was... Oh, by the way, hi. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. You might be new here. But hi, I'm Dawn. I'm actually a doctor. I don't think I've mentioned that for a while, so just throwing that curveball in there. I'm a doctor, I work in the hospital, but I have a podcast and a YouTube channel at Dawn Barlow, and this podcast is called Backseat Positivity, as you probably know because you're listening to it. And I discuss like fun things in life, and I love to tell stories, and my stories are mainly about like healthcare, self-care, mental health care. So there we go. If you're well into that, then give us a little listen. So I do sometimes have other people on the podcast, but I haven't in a while because I didn't really know. I did have someone who was keen to come on, and actually I'm trying to I don't have his number, but I will get him on. Lots of people say they're keen and then, I don't know, they freak out a bit. Anyway, originally I thought this is a weird thing to do. Sit in a hot room, sounds horrendous. I can barely just sit in the sauna and I'm sweating in the sauna. So to do stuff in a boiling hot pod or room, because it doesn't have to be a pod, but a boiling hot room is kind of a bit of an odd thing to do. Surely only odd people do that. Decide to force themselves to sit in a room that is more than body temperature. So they set it at 37 degrees. Some of them are 40. Bear in mind that your body, that's Celsius, bear in mind that your body is 37 degrees. So you are, I guess it's kind of actually like sitting in a womb, which is kind of weird because babies don't sweat, but I actually don't think babies sweat generally, because babies don't sweat anyway, even if they're not in a womb. Because I was thinking if you're in a womb, obviously babies aren't doing yoga, technically. They are doing lots of stretches and shit. But if you're in a womb that's 37 degrees, the babies aren't sweating. But then also, they are sat in a sack of fluid. Questionable. But also, yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen a baby. Babies don't produce sweat. You don't start producing sweat until you hit puberty. And that's why teenage girls and boys are a little bit stinky because they're like, oh shit, I've never had to deal with this horribly scented. Actually, BO is not badly scented. It's actually the bacteria that produce waste products. So it's bacteria poo that is the BO smell. Anyway, I've had a bit of a dealing with my own BO within the past couple of sessions, so we're going to cover that one as well. I'm not a BO kind of person. I struggle with the idea of smelling because it's like, you know, when you can smell someone's breath and you're like, oh God, hope my breath doesn't smell like that. And then you realise that maybe it does, and you're like, oh, okay, things are going badly for me right now. So, anyway, imagine if babies were sweating and the amniotic fluid was their sweat. Ooh, and then they were just, no, actually, it's getting a bit weird. Then they were just drinking it and then just weeing it, and it was just like a constant cycle of, like, that's why it's just the same amount of liquid, because it's got nowhere to go. So it could be sweat, wee, tears, and what else? Anything else you want to put in there? I don't know. They don't breathe. Yeah, that'll do. Those are enough bodily fluids for the time being. So anyway, let's move away from the womb. But that is a kind of weird concept that we were sat in the womb and it was 37 degrees and I wasn't really hot, or I didn't remember. Imagine if we remembered being in the womb. Anyway, we didn't, babies aren't like, oh my God, it's so hot in here. It's getting hot in here. Take me out of this oven. I guess that's why they call it a baby oven. Buns in the oven. Anyway, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm a little bit manic. I've just come off playing Harry Potter and I just got my broom. So I'm a little bit excited. I haven't played it in a while, and then we got a Fire Stick downstairs with an Xbox controller, and now we can play it on the TV. So it's great. So yeah, I originally thought it was a weird thing to do. Hot yoga. And I'm going to use those terms relatively interchangeably, so I'm very sorry about that. But I kind of thought it was a weird thing to do, but then I realised when I go to the sauna, bear in mind the sauna is 90 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry I don't know in Fahrenheit. Shall I Google it and just tell you as we're going? Because otherwise you're going to be like, this bitch is not inclusive. Degrees to Fahrenheit. So 37 is 98.6 Fahrenheit. And what about 90? 90 is 194 Fahrenheit. So it's pretty hot. That's the sauna. So yeah, I do some stretching in the sauna. I can only last in the sauna for, to be fair, I can do it for 20 minutes. I'm pretty bloody solid. So I was like, if I can last in the sauna doing nothing or stretching for 15-20 minutes, then I can probably go to a hot yoga session and not die. I am also quite a sweaty person, so it was a bit ropey. It was hit and miss. Was I going to survive? Anyway, you can tell that I have survived, so what happened along the way? That's the question. I think the thing is, hot yoga is supposed to be firstly, yoga is supposed to be good for you. Then secondly, the sauna is also supposed to be good for you. Put them together, bam, you're literally one healthy being, inside and out. But the sauna's a little bit small to exercise in, and also, who wants to exercise in 90 degrees? Literally nobody. I think you sometimes see people doing a few squats, but you can't be in there for long. You will literally die. And I think the thing is with being in a hot yoga thing is you can actually manage at that temperature for a while. You will obviously fucking pour with sweat, but you're not going to danger yourself, because 37 degrees is actually a fine temperature it's like a normal temperature for a human. Obviously you don't want to live in it. You don't want to be living in the pod, but so basically at 40 degrees you start denaturing, which means your enzymes break down. They just go, nope, we can't cope anymore. The protein's just it's a bit let me try and think. Okay, it's a bit like when you're making a sauce and it's got egg in it, and then if it goes too high, then the eggs scramble and then you have to throw the sauce away. Don't tell me what kind of sauce. Don't ask me. Maybe a hollandaise, is that the right one? Got eggs in it? I don't know. So anyway, it's supposed to be nice and smooth, but if you heat it too much, then it will go scrambled egg, and that's not vibes. So if we go above 40, then you don't die instantly, but it's not good, that's why fevers aren't so good, because they're good for killing things, i.e. jokes, i.e. killing the virus, killing the bacteria, because it denatures the enzymes, but it also does yours in the process. So it's like, let's hope that the bacteria are a bit weaker than you. If not, goodbye. So that's why we give paracetamol, although it's a bit counterintuitive, isn't it, really? But also it's fevers make you feel crap, and also we've got antibiotics. So yeah, vibes. Anyway, I'm going off on a lot of tangents today. So I'm just going to tell you my experience. I'm not going to go into like the significant, is it good for you, is it not? Because I'm not going to lie, I haven't done any research on it. So I'm just going to tell you my experience. Maybe the next time I'll tell you the like stuff behind it. The stuff. The stuff that I usually do, which is where I actually go away and research it and go, okay, well, this study showed that it was really good. This study showed that it wasn't so good because of this. Although I feel like I can probably just guess what the good and bads are. But anyway, let's just talk about my experience. Maybe we'll do the next one on the positives, because I did it on, and the negatives. I did one on cold plunging. Oh my God, I love cold plunging. But anyway, I just want to talk about my experience of hot yoga. So the experience, before I went, I spoke to somebody about it, like a friend of mine at work. And I was like, I'm going to hot yoga tonight or tomorrow or whatever. And they were like, I've been to that. And I was like, okay, what was it like? And they were like, yeah, it was fine, but the people were like super pretentious. So I've got this, relatively negative mindset. Well, not relatively. Like, I don't have a negative mindset. I'm just like, okay, well, they might be pretentious. So I purchased this 10-day thing, unlimited. Excellent deal, but I am well aware that the deals, they're not deals, that's the point. It's fucking expensive if you aren't in the introductory offer. So am I going to continue it after? I don't really know. And there are other reasons why I might not continue it after. So, it's on the line. It's ropey for me right now. So, number 1, signing up, moi difficile, very difficult, because there's the classes all for this week, they're all fully booked, pretty much, except ones at 12:30 in the afternoon, which thankfully I can make, but I'm not a morning person. I know that's not the morning, but it's morning for me. So I prefer a bit later, but because everybody finishes work, they're like, yeah, well, I prefer later too. And actually, fair enough. Because I'm just, I just don't want to get up early. I've also been feeling a bit lethargic, because I think my metabolism has hit rock bottom. So I think I've been feeling really shit, and that might be why. So getting up, I used to be able to get up at 11. It's just not happening right now. So anyway, signing up, pretty difficult, but they do have a wait list, and it also tells you how many people are on that wait list. Now, the issue is, if, you're sort of planning your life around this, and then it's fair enough if somebody drops out the day before, that's great. But often people don't, and they do it a couple of hours before. And, if you're at work, you can't just go, oh shit, I haven't got my stuff. You could just take it to work with you. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the logistics of actually booking onto a class are relatively difficult. And you will need to be quite organised and book in advance, a week in advance, to get the slot that you want, which I kind of didn't anticipate. Given that it gives you 10 days free, and I'd already booked one, I then had 10 days. So I kind of had to book them in the next 10 days. Otherwise I would just not use my pass. So it wasn't 10 sessions free, it was 10 days free. And so I joined onto loads of wait lists, and thankfully people kept dropping like flies. I was goodbye, I'm next. But some of the classes had 6 to 8 people on the waiting list. And I tell you what, I'm pretty sure today one of the classes had a really long waiting list. And I suddenly got added to it because, I don't know, all those people must have just dropped out last minute, which is fair enough. It was raining. It was, pretty shit weather outside. So people probably just wanted to go home. But anyway, the good thing is there are lots of dropouts. Now, I turned up late today. What happened was, now thankfully I was organised. I had my laptop with me. So I basically, traffic was bad and I got, it's a complicated story. But long story short, you don't need to hear all of it. I was late by 5 to 10 minutes. But the thing is, because I don't know whether it's just this one, but like, because it's like a closed environment, because it's hot, you can't just like walk in and out. They like have to unzip it and zip it back up, and the zip is right at the front of the class. So they don't let you in, and also they lock the door. They lock the door 3 minutes before the class starts. So you literally can't get in. It does mean your stuff doesn't get stolen though, which is good. I don't know if that's just specific to the one that I'm going to, but it may not be. I think that's something to consider I think, normal yoga, not ideal, but you could be 5 minutes late and slip in at the back. Hot yoga doesn't seem like that's a thing, because it's like you got to unzip the tent and run in and zip yourself back up. And it's like, if you're a late person like me, then good luck. But the good thing was that I ended up being able to book onto the next class. Like I'd automatically been booked onto it because someone had dropped out. And I also had my laptop with me and I needed food. So what I did was I took my laptop to a food place that was nearby, had some food, and then I went and it was great. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. I'm going to get really bad reflux. Do you know what though? I found Gaviscon in my bum bag. It's like fucking thank you past dawn. And I took one and I was fine. I don't know what it did. Maybe it just like plugged the reflux. It was like, no, thank you, not today, sir. And I was able to bend over and literally didn't throw up once in my mouth. Now, if you don't know why I have such bad reflux, that's maybe, I don't know, maybe because you're new, I don't know. But I'm on Wegovy, which is a weight loss medication. And it basically gives you horrendous reflux. Well, it does to me anyway. So reflux is my arch nemesis at the moment. It's like, it's a long-term battle, let me put it that way. It has settled down. I'm now not vomiting on the regs, but, bending over and squashing my abdomen after I've eaten is a concern. Let's put it that way. So the other thing for me was location. I don't know, again, if this is like I think it might just be this gym that I went to, but like it's right in the middle of the town centre, the city centre, so there's no parking. I had to get the bus, Tom drove me in and then I had to get the bus back. So like in the parking next to it was honestly like, what was it? £4 an hour? No, it can't be that. It was a lot. I was like, wow. So, I think the thing is with these hot pod yogas is they are situated in like main areas. So I don't know, go check out your one anyway. I haven't quite looked into all of them across the country, but the one down the road that is a hot yoga, it didn't really fly with me, like it is a lot closer to me, but it was like a bright fucking surgical theatre room. Like, when you're exercising, and doing like yoga, I mean, not just like, if you're doing like running around and stuff, I am all about the atmosphere. I need like good music. I need good, if it's yoga, relaxing smells, like nice scents and stuff like that. I'm a very, atmospheric person. I'm such an atmospheric person. That sounded so fucking cringe. No, but I love, lighting is my vibe. I love lighting. Lighting changes things because I'm telling you, if you've ever been in a nightclub at 3 a.m. when they turn the lights on, you go from happy, drinky paradise and then suddenly within a few seconds, you enter, oh my God, what is my life? What am I doing here? This is like, I could be in hell. Like it's honestly such a stark contrast, and then you see the cold light of day and you're like, oh my God, this is what it's like in a nightclub when the lights are on, and it's like you see everyone and everyone looks awful and you look awful and you're like, no, this is why we needed the lights down, because I don't want people seeing me like pouring with sweat and like looking, rolls everywhere and looking pretty disgusting. I want the lights down. Obviously if it's like you're lifting weights and stuff, you have to kind of have the lights on. Otherwise you'll just fall over or hit, do you know what I mean? But I was at an exercise class the other day and the lights were like really like, it was like a nightclub and it was really intense and it was like, wow. And I was like, yeah, I was so into it. Whereas if it's just like it's like if you go to a restaurant and the lights are like super bright and you're like, I feel like I'm in a lunch canteen at school. It's not doing it for me. In fact, one of my favourite things is when people have lighting outside their house and it makes it look like an absolute mansion, whereas realistically it's a 3-bedroom semi-detached house in like Exeter, and you're like, okay, but you now look like a millionaire. You look like a boss bitch because you've got those lights that point up and down and like illuminate your house, and it just looks amazing. So anyway, the instructor, I tell you what, I've only met one, to be fair. I actually spoke to one over the phone who was like, yeah, we don't do lateness. And I was like, yeah, well, I thought so. But she was like, but you've got you've got a space on the next one. And I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, the instructor seemed super nice. I can't fault them so far. Like, sometimes when I've been to yoga, they're all like super fucking hippie and like, I don't know. I don't want to like specify. I don't want to segregate certain yoga instructors, but like it might just be a personality thing. But some of them I've just been like, if I was here or if I was not here, you literally wouldn't have paid attention to me. So I don't know. I get some kind of shitty vibes from some exercise instructors, but like not specific to yoga. But I remember one in particular that I was just a bit like, she was just a bit like aloof. I think that's the word. So anyway, the instructors seem nice. But that's always like, you need someone that's nice to like make you want to exercise, unless you're already into exercise and then you're fine with somebody verbally abusing you, and that's fine. Cleanliness. Why have I written that? Oh, because they're quite like keen on the clean. Ooh, that was such a good catchphrase. They're keen on the clean. They are. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm actually saying that's quite a good thing. They make you wipe down all the mats afterwards, and then in between each class, they have like a 15-minute crossover period. And obviously that's like a good thing because otherwise you're like running out and running in and it's like, So they have this like mop and they go and like wash the floor, and they have like loads of antibacterial wipes, which, given I'm about to tell you how much I sweated, you will want the antibacterial wipes. So I guess doing the yoga. Let's talk about doing the yoga. So you go in, and because you have to arrive early, you actually get like a nice little lie down at the start. So you arrive, and what is probably my favourite thing is everyone there, because it's dark and it's atmospheric and nobody's looking at each other. Like literally no one cares. I looked at this one girl because I did think that she was someone that I knew, but it turns out she wasn't. And I waved at her, and that was awkward. So the shadows do confusing things. I nearly showed her a picture of the person who I thought she was, just to be like, look, this girl looks exactly like you could be twins. And then I was like, no, let's just leave it. What I have noticed is that I haven't really connected with any of the people that go there. Like, and I don't expect to. Like, it's not a social atmosphere. It's like you go there, you sit in a dark pod, which is basically like a festival tent. That's what it feels like. And they zip you in, and you don't talk to anyone. Everyone's sort of lying there, and it's fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but like I am a very social person. So for me, I quite like going and speaking to people when I exercise. However, when it's yoga, I don't know if I'm that bothered. I don't know. I was kind of, what is nice is when you leave work and you've had a really overstimulating day, you've spoken to fucking loads of people, and they, you're constantly answering questions and asking questions, and it's like constant, and noise. I mean, I work in a hospital, so people are screaming. Like, that's not an exaggeration. Like, if I was working in an office and I was like, people are like, bah, bah, more concerning. In a hospital, screaming is the norm, unfortunately. So, screaming and smells and blood and often rudeness. So, and often kindness. So that's nice, isn't it? That's a nice summary. Blood, smells, screams, rudeness and kindness. Lovely. And occasionally some laughs. Oh, fuck. So, yeah, you go in, and what is nice is usually I'm like sprinting into my exercise class, and I'm like, because I know that I can be a bit late, you know, I'm like, oh, it's fine. But here, you're like, no, you can't be late. So you turn up on time. And that's a terrible way to look at things, I get it. But, you know, it worked for me. So I turned up 15 minutes before, and what you do is you just set up your stuff, and it's nice and chill, and it's not like you're running in and then you're just doing the exercise and then you're running out. So you go in, you set up your mat and get all your stuff together, and then you have a lie down, and everyone just does their own personal stretches, you know, but it's not a chatty thing whatsoever. They've got the lights down, it's like trying to talk when you're in a really fucking busy bar and you're like, it's not that loud, but it's like not a thing to be done, you know. The sign says no phones and like no talking or something. Like, I think it's where people go to unwind. It's not where people go to socialise. And people do go with friends, but they're not talking. So you go in, you lie down. Maybe, it depends how quickly you got there, maybe for 5-10 minutes. And it's quite nice, you know. You're just like, you're not allowed to take your phone in there, so it's like, fine, I'm just going to chill. And there's like nothing to look at, so you're just stretching. It's all the more exercise for you. Then the lady comes in, and I don't quite know why she does this, but she zips up the thing and then she sprays it. I don't know what's going on. Maybe she's like cleansing the door, the aura of the door. It's scented, but I don't know why she does it. Is it antibacterial? Is it symbolic? I honestly can't tell you, and I haven't asked her. Maybe that's my next quest, is to ask Emma, why are you spraying the door? I need to know, because I need to tell people on my podcast. They're dying to know. They need to know, and I need to inform them. I need to be the messenger. Emma, what's going on? So maybe that'll be my next question. I actually might ask her that. It's a bit of a weird pod, actually. You can tell that it's supposed to be a shop, like a shop floor, and there's like a pillar in the middle of it, and they've just like cut a hole in the top of the pod and like, I don't know, put stuff around it so the heat doesn't escape. And then the heating system isn't particularly fancy. It's those Dyson Air things that they've, you know, they're like loop air like blower things. And I tell you what, the other day I went and one was just blowing out hot air continuously, whereas this Dyson one, like once it had blown out all the hot air it needed to, and it was 37 degrees in there, it started just blowing the air around rather than continuing to blow out hot air. So that was beneficial. I'm glad they changed it. Because, yeah, you want it to be hot, but you don't want it to be like, I can't breathe, I might pass out. I haven't had anybody pass out yet. Bear in mind, I've only been to 2 sessions. And I'll tell you, we did have a minor medical emergency at today's one, but I did not get involved. I was like, head down, I'm not here. I am here, but I'm not getting involved. And nobody asked, but I was like, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my downward dog, do not disturb. So, doing the yoga, God. The session is an hour. So recently I left David Lloyd, my old gym, and the classes there are 45 minutes so that they can have a 15-minute crossover period. Now, I don't mind some of the classes being 45 minutes, but once you've added in the cool in, warm up and warm down or cool down, it actually ends up being like really like 35 minutes of exercise, and it's like, yeah, that's enough, but you know, an hour is really fucking meaty. You're like, yes, I can get my teeth into this. So you have to have a full length yoga towel. Now, I thought my towel would be long enough. My beach towel would probably have been long enough, but it was dirty, so I was like, can't take that. So I took another towel. It wasn't long enough. And the lady behind me, who was not working there, but she could tell I was a newbie, was like, I had spoken to her before. She didn't just like go bitch, your towel's too short. But that she said, it'll probably be all right for the first one, but they do want you to have like a full length one so that it's like covering the end. I don't know why. I don't know if it's so they can sell more towels or for health and safety reasons. I'm not sure. It does get slippy, because you are pouring with sweat. And whether it's more hygienic to have a towel there, I don't know. But anyway, you can rent them for £2 or something, £2.50. And I was like, I'm not into renting. I'm just going to buy it. Because it was 25 quid. And I was like, do you know what? If I'm going pretty much every day for 10 days, I may as well just buy a fucking towel. Like, I'm not spending £2.50 every time. Like, it might not have been that much, but I think it was. And most people did have their own, to be fair. Like, I don't know anybody that rented one. To be fair, I wasn't keeping an eye on the till, but yeah. So, yeah, the session's an hour. The thing that I will note is it's not massively hard. If you're new to yoga, maybe. It's not hard. It's not hard. Because, to be fair, because it's dark, and they're not like, yeah, come on, hold the pose for longer. They are kind of like, if you need a water break, have a water break. They're not trying to push you. Like, it is nice and chill. And in a way, that's kind of what's needed. Because if someone's trying to, like, push you to do more when you're in a fucking sweat box, you will get people passing out. So, it is beneficial that they are kind of chill about it. But there's no but, actually. It's beneficial. But I'm saying, like, it's not as, like, physically challenging as, like, some other yoga sessions I've done. However, the extra heat element brings a whole new level to it. Because when you're sitting in a sauna, you actively burn more calories than you would if you were sitting at a normal temperature room. And that is because your body has to use energy, like physically. It might not be loads, but it all adds up, It has to physically use more energy to cool you down, i.e., like every sweat molecule that is pumped out of you, the pump has to use energy. So like, and then your heart rate is faster because it's trying to, your heart rate increases to give off more heat, so your blood goes round quicker, and then your veins will dilate, and do you know what I mean? This all takes energy. So it's not that you're necessarily using more like energy, like physically, but the background process of staying alive and your body trying to cool you down does end up making you, I can't figure out the grammar of that sentence. Does end up making you use more calories. So I would say it's probably in the region of maybe 10 to 20% more calories than a normal yoga session. I don't know. I haven't worked it out. That would be my estimate. But again, don't quote me on that one. I would, it's not like 100% more. It's not like double. You don't use like double the amount. But yeah, it's good. And stretching is so good for you as well. So, especially with my fucking back problems at the moment. So, and then you get to have a lie down for 5 minutes afterwards, which is quite nice. That's involved in the hour. So you do probably 55 minutes of work, and it's mainly like stretching, a bit of balance, a little bit of abs, but it's not like, come on, get your abs moving, and like lunges and like, do you know what I mean? It's like chill, lots of stretching, and you can take a break when you want. So, and I would say it moves a lot more slowly than a normal yoga session. So then you get to do the Shavasana, is that what you call it, at the end, which is basically like a fucking lie down, like just a little nappy new. You have a little rest. Now the weird thing is, the lady then comes around and sprays some kind of massage oil onto her hands, and then next thing I know, she's giving me a massage, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't mind. You know, she did say I will be touching you. Say if it's not okay. I didn't mind, but I was a bit like, I'm sweaty, I stink, and you're quite happy to come along and touch me, and it feels a little bit erotic. I didn't get turned on. I'm just, it could be erotic. And I remember watching the video for it, like the trailer for Hot Pod Yoga, and they were like, she was like grabbing this man's like leg and groin to like make him stretch more, and I was like, okay, I know what I'm getting myself into. So I was kind of prepared for a little bit of sexual activity. Anyway, she just massaged my face, but I was a bit like, I've never had a massage at the end of a yoga session, so it was a bit weird. She didn't massage everybody though, she doesn't have time for that, but my first session, she chose me. I was the chosen one. Now, during the session today, someone had a nosebleed. I was like, nice. She left and then came back in. Everything was fine. No one seems to have passed out yet, but my main thing is yesterday I went to my first session, and what happened was I was lying there, and as the session went on, my armpits were a little bit hairy, but I didn't care. I was like, no one can see, whatever. As the session went on, I was like, oh my God, someone hasn't like put deodorant on. And we live in Bristol, right? I live in Bristol, so it's not unheard of that people are kind of like a bit hippie and like, I don't shave my legs because I'm like totally a feminist. And there's a lot of, gender things going on here. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of, people probably don't shave their armpits, including me. So it's that kind of place, right? I didn't shave my armpits. I had deodorant on, but I'm like, oh my God, someone hasn't like put deodorant on. And then I was like carrying on, and through the whole thing I was like, oh my God, someone really smells like of really strong BO, like not just a little bit of faint, like maybe that sweet smell. It was like, anyway, I then lie down for the Shavasana, and then she asked us to like put our arms up and stretch at the end, and then the smell came back, and then I was like, oh my God, someone smells. And then I put my arms down and I was like, oh my God, it's gone. And then I was like, wait, is it me? So then I subtly tried to smell my armpit. It was me. It was me. And I was like, great. The thing is, I can't rule out if someone else was also stinky. I also can't tell if anybody noticed, because often I can feel stinky and I am acutely aware of how stinky I am. But when I ask somebody, do I smell? They're like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I smell to myself. So, but you have to get quite close. So I don't know if it's because I'm like, what's that? Probably 15 centimeters away from my armpit. But I could smell it and it was quite strong. Today, I shaved my armpits because I was like, the hair holds on to the smell. It's a bad time. Put loads of deodorant on. Got about 45 minutes through the session. The smell came back. I don't know what to do about this. Like, I genuinely don't. I tried my best, but also it was significantly less stinky. Like, at least 50% less stinky. So I was like, maybe no one noticed that, but yesterday, Christ, it was stinky. It was like somebody had rubbed onions in my armpits. And today it was like, a mild sprinkling of onion granules. Like, it wasn't so bad. So yeah, then afterwards you have to clean your mat down, and then it's kind of funny because you're like trying to clean your mat, but then you're also sweating and dripping on it. So you're like, okay, sweat, wipe, drip, sweat, wipe, drip. It was, pretty cray. And then they do have showers there, but it's like quite a quick turnaround because they've got the next class in 15 minutes. So you have to shower, get dressed, and like sort your life out and get out the door in 15 minutes. So it's quite, I'm quite a quick showerer, but for someone who's not, like, I could imagine that would be quite tricky. So I guess the question is, will I do it after 10 days? I think I would like to continue to do hot yoga. I've now bought the hot yoga towel, so although the towel will be useful for all occasions because it's just a towel for a yoga mat, which is great because I hate it when they get all slippy because they're sweaty. However, I do want to try the one down the road. It's less of an experience, but I'm like, it's closer, it's probably cheaper, but also I'm thinking I could probably just do it in my front room. Like, I can turn the heater on, put some clothes on, Bob's your uncle, put some YouTube on the TV, and it's probably free, right? Well, it is free. However, it's about taking time out for yourself, and I won't, if I put exercise on the TV, like, I won't even get to the point where I've put an exercise thing on the TV. Like, I just can never be bothered. Whereas if I've got a class that I've paid for, number 1, 2, that is scheduled, 3, that I'm taking up a space for, so I kind of feel bad if I don't go, And it's also, you know, I will go to that generally. However, you know, if it's just like, oh, I'll just turn it on the TV whenever I feel like it, it's not going to happen because I'll never feel like it. And it's also like, I like leaving the house and going out and doing things. Whereas, you know, if you're like, oh, I'll just do it at home. No, that's not like the same thing for me. I like the experience of going somewhere, seeing new people, experiencing a different thing, and also having someone to like tell me like, come on, do this. Because I just want to like switch off and just not have to think. Like, that is my biggest thing in my spare time. When I'm exercising in particular, I just don't want to have to think about things. I want someone to say jump and I'll just do it, and run there, done, doing it. I'm doing it already. You don't need to ask me twice, because I just do as I'm told. I'm like a little dog when I'm out of work and I'm not like in work mode, you know. I'm just like, okay, fine, because, you know, it's just, you don't want to have to think when you're exercising. Anyway, yeah, I think I will do it, but I think it's going to be too expensive to do it often. I think maybe once a week will be good, not any more than that. And also, will I go to hot pod yoga? I don't know, because it cost me a lot of, you know, it cost me £4 to get there and back, and then it's a lot of money to do the classes, £16 potentially, although it might be cheaper if you book them in bulk. So I'm going to try the one down the road. But hot yoga is a thing. It's a vibe. I'm enjoying it. I kind of love how much it makes me sweat. I'm like, pour, baby, pour. It's like really satisfying. And then you just drink loads after and you feel like a new fucking... I love the sauna. I really do. I love pouring with sweat. I feel like all of my fucking sins are leaving my body. So I'm like... detoxify me. Also, I went for a massage today, and I think my upper back tomorrow is going to be bruised because I'm touching it and it's so sore. I've never had a massage where I'm like, oh my god, I'm sore afterwards. Usually it's just sore when I'm doing it. So good luck to me tomorrow. Anyway, yeah, guys, if you liked that, give it a like, subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, then give it a 5-star rating, please. Share it with your friends, family, whoever wants to listen, maybe your doggy as well. And if you want to go check out the video, I mean, it's literally just me sitting in a room talking at the microphone and, you know, waving my hands around a lot and gesticulating. You can go check out my YouTube channel. I also do other fun things. You know, you can have a look. You know, if you listen to my podcast, you'll probably like my videos as well. So it's at Dawn Barlow. And give it a subscribe, like, you know, all of that shazam. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye. Love you, and you get a kiss at the end.